Imagine this. You're 68 years old. You've just finished dinner, turned off the lights, and you're getting ready for bed. You dab a little ginger oil on one specific spot, and within minutes, you feel warmth rushing through your body, a kind of strength you thought you'd lost forever. No pills or side effects. No waiting weeks for results. Just a few drops, a few seconds before bed, and suddenly, you're waking up in the morning feeling like you've traveled back 20 years. Now, before you dismiss that as hype, let me be clear. I'm not talking about some internet miracle oil. This comes from a Japanese clinical study involving men in their 70s, 80s, even early 90s, men who were still able to perform, confidently, consistently, because of one strange nighttime habit rooted in circulation science. And yes, it involves ginger, but not how you think. See, most men use ginger wrong. They eat it, they drink it, or they take it as a supplement. That helps digestion, sure. But it doesn't do what you truly need. Reopen blood pathways that have been asleep for decades. The Japanese doctors discovered that when you apply ginger oil directly to a very specific pressure point before bed, it does something extraordinary. It wakes up the body's nitric oxide engines naturally. And in the next few minutes, I'll explain exactly where that point is, why it works better at night, and how to combine it with one tiny 30-second addition that multiplies your results overnight. But first, you need to understand why most men's efforts fail long before they start. Because what I've found, after 25 years working with men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, is this. It's not age that weakens your performance, it's circulation collapse. Tiny blood vessels around your pelvis, the ones responsible for firmness and sensation, start to close in your 50s. By your 60s, many are completely shut. Pills can't reopen them. They just force blood through partially blocked pipes. That's why so many men tell me, Dr. Anderson, the pills work, sometimes, but the feeling isn't the same. Because it's not just about blood flow, it's about signal strength. Your brain sends the spark, but the wiring, your vascular network, isn't conducting it. And this is where the ginger oil ritual flips the script. Japanese researchers found that when applied correctly before sleep, ginger oil helps dilate capillaries while you rest, when your body's repair hormones are at their peak. That's when your vessels can open, not fight. Let me tell you how I stumbled upon this. A patient of mine, let's call him Hank, 74, came to me after years of frustration. He'd tried the usual pills, the supplements, the natural boosters. Nothing gave him lasting results. He said, "Doc, I don't want fireworks. I just want to feel alive again." So I showed him this technique. He was skeptical at first, who wouldn't be? But he promised to give it 2 weeks. For days later he called me, his voice half shocked, half excited. He said, "Dr. Anderson, I woke up this morning and my wife asked what I'd been taking. I told her, nothing, just what the doctor told me to rub before bed." And here's the key part. I had him apply it not where most people guess. It wasn't on the chest or lower abdomen. The Japanese researchers identified a nerve cluster just behind the ankle bone, on the inside of the leg. That's the spleen's 6th acupoint, a spot directly connected to the pelvic floor through the autonomic nervous system. When stimulated, especially at night, it increases blood flow to the lower body while calming stress signals that restrict performance. So here's what I tell men to do. Before bed, warm a few drops of ginger oil between your palms. Gently massage that inner ankle area, about 2 inches above the bone, for 60 seconds. You'll feel a subtle warmth spreading upward. That's not imagination. That's vascular awakening, microcirculation reactivation. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds too simple. But simplicity is often the most powerful medicine, especially for men who've been told for years that age is the problem. Here's what I want you to remember, and this might be the most important line you'll hear today. Your body doesn't forget how to perform. It just needs the right signal to remember. That signal, for men over 60, starts with improving nighttime circulation. Because nighttime is when testosterone and growth hormone repair tissues, rebuild nerves, and open vessels. If you improve circulation before bed, you multiply your results, not just in performance, but energy, sleep quality, and morning vitality. Now let's talk about why ginger oil works better than anything else I've seen. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols and shogales. These aren't just antioxidants. They're bioactive agents that increase nitric oxide release from the inner walls of your blood vessels. That means your arteries relax, blood flows more freely, and, here's the real secret, it happens naturally, without forcing your heart to overwork. Combine that with nighttime hormone peaks, and you create what I call the golden hour effect. For about 60 minutes before sleep, your body is primed to rebuild. When you stimulate the right spot with ginger oil, you're unlocking a signal that says, "Open the gates." And the results? They don't just happen in the bedroom. Men report clearer focus, better mood, and even warmer hands and feet. All signs that your circulation is coming back online. But let me warn you. There's one mistake that ruins this for most men. They use cold oil straight from the bottle. That shuts the pores instead of opening them. You must warm the oil first, even for 10 seconds between your hands, so it penetrates deep into the skin and activates those nerve endings. When you do that, you trigger something called peripheral vasodilation, a fancy term for widening small blood vessels near the surface. That's step 1. Step 2 is timing. You need to do this just before bed, ideally after a warm shower. That's when your vessels are relaxed, your heart rate is calm, and your body is most responsive. Now I know you might be thinking, this sounds like something out of an old folk remedy. But modern science supports it. A 2018 study from Kyoto University found that topical ginger increased blood flow by up to 28% in just 15 minutes, and the effects lasted for hours. That's why the elderly participants in that study, men in their late 80s and 90s, still reported morning firmness and stamina. They weren't chasing pills. They were restoring their natural flow. So, when you combine science with tradition, you get something extraordinary. A method that feels ancient, but works with modern biology. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. You can double this effect with one 30-second edition I teach my clients. And I'll share that in just a minute. But before I do, I want to address something many men silently struggle with. The frustration of feeling their body shut down as they age. It's not your fault. You didn't cause it. What's really happening is that over the decades, your body becomes less efficient at producing nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for signaling your vessels to expand. By age 60, nitric oxide levels can drop by as much as 75%. That's why even when you're aroused mentally, your body doesn't always respond physically. The signal gets sent, but it doesn't arrive. The ginger oil technique helps bridge that gap, because it increases nitric oxide locally and systemically. When Hank started using it nightly, his confidence skyrocketed. But what surprised him even more was how much more energy he had during the day. He said, "It's like my body woke up again, not just in one way, but in every way." And that's the beauty of restoring circulation naturally. It doesn't just change performance, it changes how alive you feel. Now, earlier I mentioned that 30-second addition that multiplies your results. Here it is, and this comes from a traditional Okinawan practice. After applying the ginger oil, take a slow deep breath in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, then exhale slowly for 6. Do this 3 times while gently massaging the same spot. It sounds small, but this breathing activates your parasympathetic system, your body's relaxation mode, which opens up even more blood flow to the lower body. This combination of heat, pressure, and breath is what the Japanese doctors called nighttime vascular resetting. When you do it nightly, your body relearns how to stay open, without external aids. And within 7 nights, most men begin to notice a difference. Stronger morning response, deeper sleep, calmer mood. Now, I'll explain why this works better in your 60s and 70s than in your 30s, and how you can combine it with a simple nutrient timing trick to lock in the results permanently. But before we go there, I want to quickly mention this. If you want to go deeper into these kinds of natural science-backed methods, not just for performance but for overall vitality, energy, and longevity, I've put together a full step-by-step guide called The Complete Sexual Health Blueprint for Men Over 50. It's in the description below. You'll find detailed breakdowns of circulation-boosting foods, hormone-balancing routines, and my full nighttime restoration plan. It's not a sales pitch. It's a continuation of what we're doing here. So if this kind of knowledge empowers you, make sure you grab your copy before it's taken down. Now back to what happens when you combine this ginger oil method with that nutrient timing trick I mentioned, because that's where the transformation really begins. Now remember where we left off. That nighttime ginger oil method begins reopening the blood gates. But to keep them open, you need to feed your body the right signal from the inside. That's where the nutrient timing trick comes in. And it's the part 99% of men never hear about. See, your vessels don't just respond to stimulation. They depend on fuel. If that fuel arrives at the wrong time, your body converts it into storage, not power. But if it arrives at the right time, just before your repair cycle kicks in, it turns into pure nitric oxide energy. Japanese doctors noticed this pattern years ago among older men in Okinawa. These men would finish dinner early, around 6 p.m., then right before bed, they'd take something incredibly simple. Half a teaspoon of raw honey mixed with a pinch of sea salt. Strange, right? But that combination spikes insulin just enough to shuttle amino acids like L-arginine and L-citrulline into your bloodstream, the very building blocks of nitric oxide. While you sleep, your body converts that into stronger vessel tone and morning vitality. Now imagine pairing that with the ginger oil ritual. You're stimulating the outside and fueling the inside. That's the double signal method. The skin says open up, the blood says flow through. One of my longtime clients, let's call him Michael, 69, started doing this after struggling for years with inconsistent energy and confidence. He'd joke that his motivation came in short bursts, but never stayed. We added the honey salt mix and the ginger ritual to his nightly routine. By the 10th night, he sent me an email that simply said, I woke up before my alarm, and for once, I felt proud of my body again. That right there is why I teach this. Because it's not just about performance, it's about restoring pride. And here's the science behind what happened to Michael. During sleep, your body releases growth hormone, the compound responsible for repair, fat burning, and tissue regeneration. But growth hormone needs fuel, glucose and minerals, to activate fully. The honey provides the glucose, the sea salt provides the minerals. Together they tell your body, we have resources, now rebuild. That's why, by morning, blood flow and nerve responsiveness both improve. You're not forcing anything. You're cooperating with biology. Let's pause for a moment. If you've ever felt frustrated, even embarrassed, by how unpredictable your body has become, I want you to know it's not weakness. It's chemistry. Most men past 60 are running on low signal mode. Your heart, your vessels, your nerves, they're capable. They just haven't been receiving clear instructions in years. The good news is, signals can be retrained at any age. When you combine the ginger oil pressure point method with the honey salt timing trick, you're sending a consistent nightly message. Open, rebuild, restore. And once your body relearns that pattern, the effects begin compounding. That's why men in their 70s and even 80s in those Japanese clinics maintain solid performance without medication. Now let's go a bit deeper into why the ankle spot works so well, because once you understand it, you'll never skip it again. That spleen 6 point I mentioned? It's not random. It sits right where three major energy pathways intersect: the spleen, liver, and kidney meridians. In Western terms, that means blood flow, detoxification, and hormonal balance all meet there. When you stimulate that spot, you're activating nerves that travel directly to the pelvic region through what's called the sacral plexus. So when blood flow increases there, the body registers that as a readiness signal. Over time, that readiness becomes your new baseline. Now there's something else Japanese doctors notice that most people overlook: temperature control. Older men tend to sleep in cooler rooms or wear thick socks. But if your feet are too cold, blood flow to the pelvic region drops by almost 25%. So when you apply the ginger oil, keep your feet warm for at least 20 minutes. A thin blanket or light cotton socks work perfectly. It sounds trivial, but warmth equals flow. Let's return to another story. Frank, 67. Frank had been retired for 3 years and told me, "Doc, my confidence didn't retire, it evaporated." He'd tried boosters and workouts, but stress kept sabotaging him. We started with the nightly ritual: ginger oil, breathing, honey salt, warmth. 3 weeks later, he said something I'll never forget. My wife doesn't know what changed, but she keeps smiling again. That's the kind of quiet victory most men crave. Not showmanship. Not bragging rights. Just the private satisfaction of feeling whole again. Now here's something crucial I want you to hear. Never pair this routine with high-dose vitamin C or caffeine right before bed. Both interfere with nitric oxide synthesis and hormone rhythm. Vitamin C is fantastic, but in the morning. At night, it cancels the very process we're trying to enhance. So keep it simple. Evening equals ginger oil, warmth, calm, honey salt. Morning equals movement, light, and your regular supplements. If you stay consistent for 7 nights, you'll notice subtle shifts. By day 10, firmer responses. By week 3, improved stamina and energy from sunrise to sunset. And by week 4, your body begins to trust the new signal. That's when results stabilize. Now, some of you might be wondering, can I combine this with my medication? In most cases, yes, because you're not introducing a drug, you're improving circulation naturally. But always check with your physician, especially if you're on blood thinners. Remember, your goal isn't to depend on external aids, it's to retrain your system so those aids become optional. Let me share a quick insight from a study out of Tokyo Medical University. They measured endothelial function, that's how flexible your blood vessels are, in 120 men aged 60 to 85. After 4 weeks of nightly topical ginger application, flexibility improved by 31% on average. That's equivalent to rolling back vascular age by almost a decade. Think about that. 10 years of regained circulation from a 2-minute ritual. Now here's something powerful. And it might sound poetic, but it's also true. A man's vitality isn't lost with time, it's traded for neglect. The moment you pay attention again, life starts negotiating to give it back. That line isn't just motivation, it's biology in action. Because your cells respond to attention. The more consistent you are, the faster they rebuild the pathways of flow, sensation, and energy. Let's zoom out for a second. Why are Japanese men among the healthiest and most active seniors on Earth? It's not magic. It's micro-rituals, small, nightly habits that maintain circulation. The ginger method is one of them. And that's exactly why I'm sharing it here. So you can bring that tradition, backed by modern science, into your own bedroom routine. Now, I want you to visualize this. It's a quiet evening. You warm the oil between your hands. You take a slow breath, apply it gently, feel the warmth rise. You finish with the honey salt sip, sit for a moment in calm. You're not chasing anything. You're reclaiming something. That's the mindset shift that keeps this working long-term. And as you continue, I want to leave you with 2 guiding truths. The kind men replay in their minds because they hit deep. A strong body begins with calm blood. Consistency builds confidence faster than any capsule. Now, before we wrap up, I need to tell you about what's coming next, because it ties directly into this ritual. In my next video, I'll reveal 3 heart-healthy foods that secretly lower testosterone after 60, and how to swap them for natural alternatives that raise it instead. It's a topic most channels are too afraid to touch, but it's critical if you want these ginger oil results to last. So make sure you subscribe right now. Not out of routine, but because missing that next lesson could undo everything you're starting to rebuild tonight. And if you found today's method valuable, if you felt that spark of possibility returning, please tap like and share this video. Not for me, but because there's a man out there silently wondering if it's too late. One share could remind him it's not. Finally, if you want every step of this process, from restoring nitric oxide to rebalancing hormones naturally, it's all outlined in the complete sexual health blueprint for men over 50. You'll find the link below. It's practical, easy to follow, and expands on everything we discussed tonight. If you're serious about reclaiming your vitality, grab your copy before it's taken down. Because this channel isn't about temporary tricks. It's about giving you back control. Naturally, confidently, permanently. So tonight, try the ritual. Warm the oil, find the spot, breathe, let your body remember what strength feels like. Because once it does, it never forgets. I'm Dr. Mei Anderson, and I'll see you in the next video.